What's that?
I hate the hot summers. I used to live in Arizona and I always had to wear a suit. I was a pharmaceutical salesman.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, that's hot. Yeah, you don't want to be.
110, but you didn't sweat there because it was so dry.
Yeah, it was hot, but it wasn't like sweltering like it is here. Absolutely, I totally agree there.
Here you have tremendous humidity.
All right. Dr. May, is it Stephen May?
Sure, Steve.
I am Nelson DeLeon, and this is my partner Mike May. We are working this investigation here, and I appreciate you coming in. Today, the time is 18:30. And you are currently a practicing doctor?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been, what kind of doctor are you?
Family practice.
Family practice? And where do you practice out of?
I'm in Tarpon Springs, if you're going to ask me for the address. It's in Tarpon Springs. I also practice in Tampa.
Okay.
At PR Medical on 56th Street in Fowler.
Okay.
I'd have to get you the addresses. I'm
No
terrible.
worries. No worries.
Names and numbers.
As a family doc, do you do rounds in hospitals?
Not anymore. I used to go to Morton Plant, Dunedin, and then Countryside, but and Clearwater Community when they had a hospital over there.
Now, when did you used to go to Morton Plant? And
When did I go to Morton?
yes,
When did I
what
start, you mean?
What year did you start going there to those hospitals?
Okay, I came out of the Navy in, let me just think for 1 second.
It's okay.
I think it was 1981.
81?
Yeah, 1981.
And you had your practice here?
Yes, it was in Clearwater. It was right on US 19. It was the Spanos building. It used to be the Spanos. I don't know what it is now. It was right on US 19 and not far from Countryside Boulevard.
Okay. So, at that time, you know why you're here, correct?
Because of the two girls,
Correct.
Mary Beth and
Linda.
yeah, Linda.
Okay. When did Linda work with you? Do you remember?
The years, she worked with me for about 30 years.
She did?
For a while.
Yeah, but I don't know the exact starting point. And
When do you think she stopped work? Maybe that'd be easy to remember, like when she's not. Well, let's go backwards.
She stopped work about 2 years ago.
All right, so backwards from there, okay.
And when she worked for you, what did she do?
She was a nurse assistant and a secretary.
So, as a nurse assistant, what does she do? What's her job?
She would set up little surgical procedures, do EKGs, take histories, what else? She would do some of the bookkeeping, just sort of an all-around type of thing.
Would she, as being a nurse's assistant, does she provide injections and things like that?
Yes.
She does.
Yes.
What kind of injections?
Oh, B12, maybe triamcinolone, which is a cortisone, flu shots. In those days when I did babies also and pediatric type things, we had the shots for the babies.
Any IV type of stuff going on, or just general?
That was rare. If it was IV, I put in, and we did sometimes. We had tremendously dehydrated patients.
Of course,
sometimes,
of course.
Well, they were vomiting all the time, so I kept them in the office because if I thought I could do them...
Stabilize it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Without sending them to the hospital, because a lot of them didn't have insurance. And
I understand.
I go to the hospital one time and
Right,
change
it's
out
crazy.
a lifetime. It's gotten crazy.
What about any type of pain medication?
To
Right.
give pain medication?
Does she?
No.
What
No.
about like morphine or anything?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, we had access then. I did dispense some medications, and some of them were of a class category,
Right.
like sleeping pills perhaps, or tranquilizers, and not too many antidepressants were class drugs, but things of that nature, maybe some Furanol, Furacet for headaches, but these were tablets, you know.
All right, let me ask you this, just though we're talking about this, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
you're-
did you ever prescribe anything to her? Was she, did she see you as a doctor, or she just worked there, or was she a patient also? I mean, sometimes it does happen.
She was a patient.
She was a patient also. Did you ever give her any prescriptions?
Yes, I've given a prescription, but you can ask me what kind they were.
Let me ask you, I'll just be point blank with this, have you ever prescribed any Halcyon for her?
Halcyon? I don't think so. Halcyon got pretty well restricted as a medication probably 10 years ago. And the
Okay.
reason I know that, my father used to be on it,
Okay.
and he used to take 2, 3 at a time. And
And these are sleeping pills, or they are not?
they're sleeping pills.
Okay.
But I did notice that it affected his memory, and
So there's a downside to this, obviously. That's
Oh,
what they,
yeah.
okay. So most likely you would not have prescribed her that.
no.
Now, let me ask you this, could have been other type of sleeping things that are maybe a little bit more tolerable than Halcyon?
There's a lot of things that are more tolerable.
Okay.
The tranquilizers like Valium. Sometimes I just start with Benadryl for the elderly people, you know, and then raise it up to 25 to 50 milligrams. Other times we used Ambien 5 milligrams, comes in 5 and 10. Trazodone.
Now,
All these are Dalmane was popular at one
Mhm.
time. It came in 15 and 30 milligrams. That was a lot milder than the Halcyon. Halcyon, they sort of put not a black box, but a lot of warnings on.
Okay. So more likely,
But it was a great tablet if you used it right.
it was pretty good, but then, of course, there's some side things going on that there's not so much. So you may not prescribe her Halcyon, but some of these other things, Trazodone or Ambien, is there a possibility you prescribed her any of those things?
Sure, that would be rare.
I get it.
In those days, we used to get samples of that too.
Okay.
So they would take my samples.
Okay.
Sometimes.
now, would she, as a nurse assistant, would she also go with you to do rounds down in?
No. I worked at one place where we did smoke cessation with it by injection, and she helped me with that, but that was short-lived. That was about 3-4 years ago, and it was on Tampa Road, near that hair place, that big popular hair place there. I don't know the name of it. But it wasn't far down Tampa Road off of US 19. On the right side, there's a hair place, and then there was a clinic they had for cosmetic surgery. And they asked me to do smoke cessation there, and I did it, and she helped me there. But that's the only thing.
And what is that? What's that?
Yeah, I'm not.
Smoke cessation?
Yes.
It's done by injections. One injection on each side of the ear and one in the arm.
And what does it do? What's it for?
And it reduces these cravings of the nicotine. You
Oh.
don't use nicotine.
Oh, okay, now I get what you're saying. Okay, I thought there was something else. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Okay.
So she would never, when you go to the hospital, was she employed with you while you would do these hospital runs?
Yeah, but she wasn't with me on rounds, on routine rounds. No,
Okay.
no, never that I can remember.
Okay.
Unless it was a relative of hers, but I don't even remember that.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember this incident when her father passed away?
Very vaguely, I remember when her mother passed away, which was before the father. Then the father went on for a while, living his life, and a very nice, pleasant man. He came into my place a couple times, gave me a haircut. You know, just he used to be a barber.
Okay, I didn't know that, okay, I see what you're saying.
And, just a great guy, and I always knew him as being very stable and normal. I didn't see him in the stages when he was forgetful or at that time, but what was your question again?
Do you remember when he passed? Did you?
Yeah, I very vaguely do I remember when he passed. I remember when the mother passed, I remember when, but I didn't go to the funeral.
Did you receive a phone call from Linda that day when he passed? Do you recall?
I knew that he passed, but I don't know how I know. Linda probably was the only one that told me, that had to tell me, and I probably would think she did that when she came to work.
When was the last time you spoken to Linda?
I spoke to Linda maybe a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, and to Mary Beth. Let me explain a little story here.
Yes, please.
Lauren, the younger niece,
Yes.
Lynn brought her into work for me because she wanted to pull out and retire. So I let Lauren stay there and work it. And she did okay at first. She did okay.
She did office work there, what was her?
Yeah, just office work, but I taught her how to give some shots.
Okay.
Basic shots
All
like
right.
B12 and the other things. Nothing class drug. But, and she worked there for about, I guess it was a year, maybe a little more than a year. And it wasn't full-time. We were only open a few days a week. But she was there mainly in the mornings. And at the end, I had to move out, so that's when I moved into Tarpon, right above Klosterman.
Yep.
Because my friend let me use an office in that building for quite some time. And he owned part of that building, or rented part of the floor, I guess. So I used it, but more and more I noticed money was missing, things weren't being done right.
Okay.
And here we go. And I noticed that even with Lynn.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Things were starting to disappear, especially when I went to Tampa. And
When you say things are missing, are we talking narcotics? Are we talking about cash or just?
Cash.
Cash, okay.
Yeah. And it got worse with Lauren. Anyway, I fired Lauren, or didn't hire her back to work in Tarpon. She was really mad about that and called a lot of my patients in to borrow money from them. And I said, don't lend her any money.
Right.
So
This is Lauren or Linda, so it's clear.
This is Lauren.
Okay.
Linda had gone. She
And now
worked
a dog,
for Lauren.
okay, now she's
Now the
right.
niece took over.
Yeah, got it.
That's Mary Beth's daughter.
Correct, gotcha.
So Lauren was pretty aggravated by it and evidently got a new boyfriend. And the boyfriend had a brother, and my house was robbed.
Okay.
Okay.
The sheriff's department knows about it. Cars were stolen. There was a lot of damage.
What was stolen?
My car. They piled. I had a gun collection. They piled some of the guns in the car.
They took the car too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They took the car. They totaled it. It was a Range Rover. It was my favorite car. I could never afford to buy a car like that again. The way I got that.
Right.
Beautiful colors. The guy said it was 12 years old. He said, I've never seen a car kept so perfect in my life. But I think I got $11,000 for it from the insurance company. It completely got totaled.
Yeah.
The St. Pete police chased them, I guess, and they ran into a tree.
Of course. Right. So that's the end of that.
Yeah, but then there was a whole bunch of stuff. I had big bottles of coins, I had rings. They took the drawers and dumped them into bags, big bags, threw them in the car and took
Off they went.
They took all my keys for the cars and stuff. That was all. Nobody knew where it was.
That's just weird, but okay.
Sheriff's Department did a complete investigation. I got 2 guns back, I'm still waiting, I guess, for a trial for the two guys that they caught, and they couldn't get enough evidence on Lauren.
That was my next question, was there any blowback into that where they thought that she sold the information or brokered it in some way? Because they probably don't know you, and how would they they're just lucky?
Right,
Right,
no,
right.
it was
Okay.
through, the detective told me it was through Lauren, but they didn't have enough to,
That can happen.
and that was more aggravating than anything.
Of course it would be, yeah.
Because they broke every door in the house, they break in every room, you know. And
They did more damage than they needed to do to steal, so that
Right.
tells you what's going on, because mainly nobody's gonna do that, they're gonna steal and go.
yeah,
So, that's awful.
that was bad. I still haven't put in a claim yet for it. I've been because my wife's leg had to be amputated the day after that.
Right,
So, yeah, so it sort of put me in a funny mood.
of course it would,
I just haven't put in a claim yet.
right. Now, how long ago was this, do you think?
That was about a year ago, a little more than a year ago.
Okay, all right.
A little more than a year ago. I don't remember. I can get exact dates if you need it.
No, we'll look it up, I'm just wanting to know if you just off the top of your head.
Yeah. But, so that was my experience with Lauren. Lauren was a terrible experience. She kept, even after that, calling my patients for money. But I spoke to my patients and they stopped. So, they thought she was just the greatest thing that ever lived, but she was the most horrible
No.
thing that
Right.
ever lived.
Now, was Linda a nurse or just an assistant?
She was a dental assistant and she went through, I guess it's CNA school or something where they...
She wasn't a nurse practitioner.
No, oh no.
Okay.
My sister was, and she worked for me for a while until she passed away. My sister was a nurse practitioner, but yeah, and Mary Beth, I'm amazed at Mary Beth because she was, even though Lauren was the daughter, Mary Beth was a very strict, honest, good woman. I saw Mary Beth as a very honest individual. And she came and did some of my insurance claims once in a while.
So you just medical billing and stuff?
Yes.
You spoke to her, yeah, that's correct, okay, I understand.
She knew that really well, so
Because that's what she does.
That's what she does, that's her job, okay, that makes sense then.
So she helped me with that intermittently once in a while, and I gave her some cash when she came.
Of course, I understand that.
So,
Well, sometimes, and you know both the sisters, so you can see the dynamics of that. One could be a leader, one could be a follower, as you know how these things sometimes routinely go. So,
there was something said to me after he died
And what was that?
that I said, Mary, did your dad have insurance? Because Mary Beth was always struggling. She was
yes,
always-
she told us that.
And it was like week to week type of thing.
She told us that, yeah.
I asked her about, did you get any money from your dad's insurance? Did he have insurance and so forth? She said that Lynn didn't give her any money from the insurance, which to me meant there was some insurance claim and something was paid, but she didn't share it with her sister, and I guess she has a brother too.
And just for your information, that was split evenly, so that's an odd statement to make. When it was
Oh,
divided by
really?
3, that's correct, it was.
Yeah.
So that's an odd statement, I wonder why she was, this was, Mary Beth said this, she didn't? No, it was divided equally, and,
That's
so that's interesting, that's why I'm asking you about that, okay. She said she didn't get
Get
anything, that's not true though.
That Lynn wouldn't give it to her. Maybe Lynn came through with it later.
Right, but, I mean, we just spoke to them recently, so it could have been initially they didn't, and then she did, I don't know the answer to that, but in the end of it, that did go, I think it was dispersed that way.
Because I can't think of any other reason that they would ever do something like that.
Now, when did you find out?
I found out from my daughter last night who called me on the phone. I was with some people trying to do some paperwork, and my daughter texted me and said, Dad, can you give me a call as soon as possible? I have some news. Not urgent, but call me
Right, when you can, right.
So I called her about a half hour later, and she said, "Oh my God," she said. I said, "What's the matter?" And she told me. I said, "I can't believe that. I just couldn't believe it. It's bothered me since I didn't even sleep well last night because it's hard to believe." Anyway, she's the one that told me about it. And then I turned on the TV, and then I saw it on the TV, and I read some of the text news. There was some differences, but
Let me add, when, just before he had passed, did you happen to see him, or
no, I wish I had, but I hadn't.
was it,
He was not a patient of yours, huh? He came to visit you, but not for that.
Right.
He's cut your hair, but he didn't.
Yeah.
when was
As
the
a
last
doctor,
time
okay.
you saw him prior to his...
Just roughly, I know you don't know the day, but
Yes.
Oh, maybe,
Weeks, months,
no, it'd be probably a year before that
a
happened.
year?
At least a year before that happened, and that might have been to come up and just drop off some money to Lynn, or he paid for everything for Lynn. Lynn wanted a facelift, he paid for it. She needed her teeth done, he paid for it.
So he took care of them?
Oh, he took very good care of them. He took more of Lynn, I think, than anybody. I don't know why Lynn was maybe a favorite, but maybe because of the children that Mary Beth had, or
Right.
create the problems that they might have created. But anyway, I think Lynn was the favorite, and I think she was the oldest too.
yes.
But he would cover everything. I mean, the poor guy was just a barber, but he must have saved and invested every penny
Right.
he had, because some of those things were pretty expensive. Hospitalization, she had stomach with a trouble. He'd put her in, get specialists to look at her. If she needed surgery, he'd pay the bill. It just was a super dad.
Right.
I know, I got that problem with two of mine right now. So, but they're legitimately having problems.
Right, understood.
We're doing the best we can do.
That's what parents do.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's exactly the case.
Is there anything that you think is important that you didn't tell me?
I try to think of things, and to me, Mary Beth was an honest person. I never had her take anything from me that I know of, nothing. The other two girls, Lynn, they were taking a fair amount of money every week. And Lauren was even worse. Lauren was terrible.
She just would just, off
Yeah,
the
she
chain.
was blatant. It was just
Right.
blatant.
Understood.
And I kept saying, we're not making any money in the practice, and we should be making
You should be,
money.
there's people coming in, and what's going on here?
Yeah.
What's going out the door, so that's what's going on.
But then the problem became, even with Lynn and with Lauren, because I knew I'd be getting out of there, and I was hoping that maybe I'd be able to quit medicine or almost quit medicine and just retire or partially retire, and to break in somebody new for the year or year and a half that I'd be, it just isn't worth it, because
Right.
it's so hard to break somebody in new, to get them to know all the rules and regulations, and today the rules and regulations are worse than ever.
How much longer are you gonna go?
Maybe, I'm probably gonna close this place down within a year, up in Tarpon. I'm gonna work in Tampa. I work in pain management. We run a very tight ship there, and we've got excellent ratings from the health department and stuff that, with this PR Medical. It's owned by two Egyptian people. One is an ex-pilot, and I don't know what the other fella did. I think he raised chickens, which was a good living in chickens, believe it or not. As long as they don't get Newcastle's disease, where they got to destroy their whole crop. But,
Right.
and they treat me very well. They treat me very well. So I pretty well, if I say I don't like this guy, I don't want him, I check their records,
Right.
if they're involved with any kind of class drugs, I don't want them in our clinic.
Of course.
So we scrutinize everything that we can. We get all the information we can, then we decide whether we're going to take them as a patient or not. And I don't want to get families coming in there. I really restrict that because I feel funny about too many people from the same family.
Right.
Anyway, so we run and I work there 3 days a week. And I really probably finish working, maybe it takes an hour to get there. I work for about 5 hours, and then usually I'm finished between 5 and 6 hours.
Okay.
Sometimes earlier, sometimes later,
Hey.
whatever it takes. But they let me go whenever I'm done.
Well, that's cool.
So, and I say they're very good, and they understand completely. We gotta hold a tough line.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
And they're good about that. They're good about that.
Well, I just wanted to appreciate you coming in.
I do too, also.
And
I don't know if I help you at all.
no, we just
We're trying to get background, get the lay of the land, and see what's going on, and that type of thing, so, yeah.
Now, you know, Mary Beth was married before
Yes.
to I can't remember his name, but this guy was really a retarded individual.
Mhm.
Just like a hillbilly from
Right.
I don't know where, but no common sense whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, I think he worked in heavy equipment, driving heavy equipment. And they've been divorced for probably 20, 25 years.
Okay, so quite a while,
Yeah.
okay.
Then Jaeger was
Right,
Lynn's first husband.
correct.
And they were married for a long time. They got divorced, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago.
Okay,
And he lives around here too.
right.
But he was always a pretty straight guy too. I never had any problems with him.
What about this Ted guy? Are you in any contact with him?
I may have met him once, I can't remember. But I know that she divorced him once, had him arrested once.
Yes, all that's true. Yes,
He became violent. He met her through the internet, I think.
Something, yeah.
And but I never knew him, never really met him.
Okay,
Maybe I met him once, I'm not sure,
right.
Right.
where she brought him up to
But routinely, you didn't see him like you knew the father and all this stuff.
No.
So maybe once, maybe never, but you didn't really have an impression about it. Okay, that's fine.
Now, but the first husband I knew pretty well. And we had parties and Christmas parties and stuff together. So.
Certainly.
And he was a pretty nice guy. I don't know what happened to Lynn too.
Something,
She was always, the first maybe 15 years or 10, 12, 15 years, I never had to take anything or steal anything from her.
right?
Then after the divorce,
A little,
it became a little worse and a little worse and a little worse. But
understood.
All right. Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you very
coming in.
much.
trying to think where I met you before.
You may have met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm the doctor for the SWAT team in Clearwater.
Okay,
So I
we appreciate
take
that.
care of those guys.
I'm sure they appreciate that.
Oh yeah, well they get free medical. from
Okay, we
me.
can't go wrong with that, then there you go, exactly. Here, let's walk you down. Let's appreciate you coming in.
And I can't think of anything that would, I am so shocked by it, I can't think of anything that would.
Thank you all for watching, everybody, and until next time, take care.